So let's see.
Anyway, so Joel and John and
Hi.
and Gail, yeah, the worst part of, I taught too, the worst part, well, no, there were other parts I didn't like. I only liked teaching and being in the classroom and with the students, but then I had to advise, and it was such a responsibility because if I made a mistake, it could take longer for them to graduate or get their degrees.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it changed constantly. It was horrible, Joel. I was a terrible advisor. No, I didn't want to. In fact, there was a movement at one time to make faculty not do advising at all.
Yeah.
Faculty would be exempt from advising. I would have loved that.
I would love it too,
The
actually.
department secretaries know everything. They should just do the advising.
Yes, I know.
Right.
I know. It was very sexist too. This was a long time ago. But since I'm talking about teaching, and then I'll be quiet, I really got such an education. Joel was nice enough to send me his syllabi on the courses he's teaching and on Jewish history and Judaism. And I just loved reading the syllabi. And I learned a lot just reading that. And then John Lees was nice enough to send me interviews and pictures of his artwork. And then I learned how much I don't know about art and painting, but it was fascinating to read John's interviews and then see his work. John is an accomplished painter and artist. I always thought Randy Newman was the most famous in our class, but
I finally learned the word for it. From that new movie with Lily Tomlin. I always thought it's not famous, or low grade, it's marginally well known.
okay.
I finally found, yeah, no, he is famous. I am marginally well known within my field. You know, like.
That's great, John. Congratulations, really. It was very impressive to read that and see your artwork.
John, while we're on the subject, can you show us some art?
Well, I guess I can. I don't want to knock the computer around. And then I wanted to ask a question. I had a question I wanted to ask. Let's see if I can do this without knocking my whole computer thing to hell. I'm here in my studio. Here's a large painting. I've been on. Have I just lost it?
No.
No, we can see. We can see.
Painting of my
I
father
see your father.
that I've been on for many years and it's been shown in different forms. It's hard. There's this wire in the computer. I hope I'm not going to lose the program. Right? I hope I'm not going to lose the
Can
chart.
you-
Plugged in.
Can you show us something you've been working on recently too?
Sure. These are things I have been working on. There, you know.
But I thought I was slow. John has been working on something for 30 years,
Oh my God.
but it's not slow, it's thorough, he said. It's thorough.
Well, it's like the same thing about, this is the portrait I've been working on. It's been in various states. It's been shown before, but it gotta be. So after I showed it, I brought it home. But I wanted to ask a question.
But John, show us something that's new.
That is new.
What's the 30 years?
Oh, that one I haven't done for 30 years. I don't have them here. The 30 years ones are, I think, still at my gallery. But I wanted to make one thing I wanted to say in reference to what Joel and Dan were saying. talking to students, the most asked question, the biggest difficulty is students come to me and there's always this kind of sheepish quality. And they say, I don't know how I'm going to tell my parents I want to switch from being a computer science major to being an art major. That's one of the biggest ones.
And what do you tell them?
I'm sorry. What do I tell them? I ask them a lot of questions. I usually, I'm of course, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. I mean, if they don't do it and they really feel they want to, they will feel very badly. But it varies from the person. But usually I just ask of them a lot of questions. And usually I know them pretty well by that time. But I had a question, something that came up last week. I wasn't here. But Bill Crouch announced that Alan Adachek had died.
Oh.
And I couldn't notice a feeling that it was an important thing that he said for him. I didn't know Alan. He was in a class with me at uni and we had spoken, but I really didn't know him. But at various times after school, once during the 60s and once just prior to the 40th reunion, I've heard people talk about him as they regarded him as somebody very special. And I don't, as I say, I don't know him. And I was curious what anybody could tell me about him. I didn't know if Bill would be here tonight or Dave Kuhn or somebody that Roger, I think that knew him. I think he was a Viscount, but I could be wrong. But I mean, can anybody tell me? I mean, it doesn't have to be tonight. Maybe it's, but it's a mystery to me.
The only thing I know about Alan was that he was an attorney for a famous trial in Los Angeles, like the Hillside Strangler or some.
Or Manson? Was it Manson?
Oh, it could have been. It could have been.
I think I'd heard that too.
Yeah,
No, it wouldn't.
I learned that at one of the first couple of reunions that we had when he was there. He was a great guy. Good.
That's what I got the impression people thought he was a really great
I'm
guy.
sorry to hear.
This is
Oh.
him. Can you see him?
Right.
Yeah.
I think I might have gone to Hebrew school with him, but I'm not sure.
Yep. And John, I can't really comment. I never knew him that well. I knew him, but I never knew him that well. I just remember he had a great sense of humor.
Oh, he did. Okay.
A really good sense of humor.
Yeah.
But, and like you said, he was very, very well liked and that's
There's Danny.
there. I see. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
I don't think, go ahead, I'm sorry. John, I don't think you're in here.
I'm in camera shy,
Oh,
but you can find me on the page of Jazz Club. It's almost the last page of that.
well, Ginny has it, I don't.
Oh, Jenny, do you have it?
Well, I can go get it.
Oh, you don't have to. It's it's one of those.
I'll go get it. Hang on. Well,
No, you're not in here.
No, I didn't graduate from uni. I went to Hollywood High School for the last year and a half of high school. And, but I still come to uni reunions because it has all the people I grew up with.
Why did you go there, Joel? I forgot why.
In the summer of John and I both had a teacher named Edith Alberts, who was a English teacher and drama teacher. And we were among her favorite actors in plays and so forth.
There's
And,
Joni.
oh, there's Joni, yes.
Hi, Joni. There you are, Joni.
So meanwhile, Edith basically arranged for us to go to a summer drama workshop at Hollywood High School, which turned out to be for me just a beautifully revelatory experience. I loved the people I met, and I don't know, somehow I wound up befriending a lot of people there that summer, and it made me want to go to high school at Hollywood High. So I switched high schools. I did it in a way that if anyone learned about it back then, I would have been in big trouble, because I used to hitchhike 9 miles every day down Sunset Boulevard
Oh,
to
my
and from
God.
Hollywood.
Oh, my
Uh,
God.
and you know, I'd go there at 7:30 in the morning and come back about 5:30 or 6 at night. And in any case, it's not a typical way for a high school student to attend high school.
No.
No, but Joel, it showed such dedication and commitment.
Yeah, indeed, I did have dedication at that point.
You could tell him about John Ingle. You could tell him about John Ingle.
Oh, well, he was, John Ingle was the teacher there, and he was a legendary teacher. He later became a drama teacher at Beverly Hills High School. Later on, he became the teacher of people like Nicolas Cage and who else? Anyway, a lot of very, Richard Dreyfuss, I think, was one of his students. At Hollywood High, he had been the teacher of Barbara Hershey, and who was in, she was in, I'm trying to remember, Stephanie Powers, who was known as
Oh, yeah.
Stephanie Paul in those days. We were in a production together at one point. She sang the song of, I forget, it was Ado Annie. I'm not sure, but it was an excerpt from the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Oklahoma, and I was part of a male chorus line that backed her up, and she leaped into her arms at the end of that. But anyway, Hollywood was just an incredible experience for me, and you know, I would love to be in touch with the people I went to school with then, but we have long fallen out of touch. John knows some of them. Holly Vinson was one of my best friends, and John, close to John as well. And I don't know, she lives in the Santa Rosa area, I think now, or if she's still alive, we don't know.
And there was a guy named David Guyler who went
David
on to
Guyler.
make the Alien movies, to produce
That's right.
Alien.
Yeah, he was actually the close friend of mine of that summer of '59 that talked me into going to Hollywood High. But then later we had kind of a falling out in our friendship, and he started denouncing me. But in any case,
One was always up and down with David. We're in, we're out.
mercurial guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel, where did you live? Did you live close to Sunset Boulevard?
Yeah, I lived a block off Veteran Avenue, which is
Oh, Barrington?
Veteran
Oh,
Avenue.
Veteran. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I lived my street, Kashmir Street, was parallel to Veteran at a certain point, and then it eventually sort of goes off onto Greenfield. Is it Greenfield Avenue? Greenfield Street. It's a street that has a very famous house designed by Richard Neutra, one of the great artists of the Bauhaus in Germany in the 1920s. But anyway, he designed a house in Los Angeles that was part of my neighborhood. And so I used to walk up to Sunset and Veteran and stick out my thumb. There was a man named Mr. Smith, who used to pick me up every day if you know, he was there at the same time I was there, and give me a ride all the way to high school. But,
oh, that was lucky.
yeah, that was lucky. But other times I wasn't so lucky. And I never, in general, I never got attacked or molested or anything by any of the people that picked me up. Although there was one close call at a certain point. But
I lived a block off Sunset too, on South Bowling Green.
Oh, okay.
Here's the picture of John. Can you see it?
Yes,
Not
I'm up on
really.
the upper left-hand corner of it
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With a jacket on?
with the jacket, and that's David Rich right next to me.
Jenny, bring it closer, okay? To this, yeah.
Can you see it?
It's hard to see the faces of people.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people we knew. I mean, we were sort of people that hung out in the Grove. We talk Grove people. So Malcolm Broadwick is there. Steve Groman, who was a pretty amazing person.
Oh, do you want to see it more, John?
I just wanted you, I don't know, most people don't remember me because I was sort of, but I mean, those are the people I knew. Mostly I hung out with down in the Grove. We wanted to be beatniks.
John, did that answer your question about Alan?
Yeah, but I have a feeling I'd love to hear more. It's time.
He was good friends
on,
with Paul Albert. Do you remember Paul?
I
Albert?
remember first Karen Goodman talking about him. And I mean, it just sounded like she didn't say much, just a few words, but just really like it was, he was really special. And I heard another story about someone else, saying about the 40th reunion. Well, if you can get Alan Adachek to come, I'll come. So these were special things.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling he might have been funny, but I just strangely didn't know him. And I noticed something in Bill's voice when he said that, kind of a sense of loss. And so I'm curious to know more about him.
Well, we can put the word out. Hi, Peg. How are you?
Hey, you
Oh.
made it, Peggy.
Hi,
I
Peggy.
did.
Okay.
Hi.
You want to
Hi,
show us your puppy?
everybody.
You want to show us your puppy?
Oh, I will in a minute.
Okay.
means I have to leave, and I'm kind of enjoying seeing everybody.
Okay.
Did you go? Are you still going to your away to your ranch?
Yeah, Dude Ranch. Yeah, Saturday. How do I make me smaller and everybody else bigger? I don't know how to do that.
I do it. So whoever's talking is big. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You're on.
So anyway, we're going to a Dude Ranch, and it should be kind of fun in Montana, where I think there's a lot of flooding going on there, but near Yellowstone.
Are you taking the grandkids?
Not everybody.
Oh, wow.
Everybody
Wow.
but the dogs. Yeah, no dogs.
School starts here next week. So
It does?
yeah, but your kids are mostly in college now, aren't they? The grandkids?
Yeah, except no, I have 3 little ones too. I mean, little being 9 and 8. So kind of a Dude Ranch will kind of take care of all ages.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We're not actually, I mean, none of our family knows how to fish or ride horses or shoot guns or do any of that, bow and arrows. So it does all of that. So that should be kind of fun. Something different.
And Peggy, where do you live now? Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh.
Oh.
And Jenny, you're in LA?
I'm in Chico, where Gail is.
Oh.
Coincidentally, I married a Chico boy. Moved out of LA in 1968.
I didn't know he was from Chico. I thought you met him at school.
Yeah, I did, but no, well, he was born in Los Angeles, very close to where I was born in Los Angeles. But then his family moved to Chico when he was in junior high school. And we lived in Los Angeles for about 3 or 4 years. Well, you remember, because we used to see each other then. But I don't know, we wanted to buy a house and it was cheaper in Chico, so we could buy a home in Chico. And we wanted to get out of LA to raise our kids in a small town.
And how funny you and Gay
Yeah.
connected finally.
Yeah.
We're taking walks now together.
Oh.
I kept trying to get that going, but it took years.
You know who else lived in Chico? John knows her, is Kitty Howard.
I don't know her. Ginny doesn't know her.
Kathleen Howard.
I'm sorry, and what?
Her name is
Howard.
Kitty Howard or Kathleen Howard. Her father was a professor at Berkeley or UCLA.
UCLA, yeah,
He was an
Melville.
expert on Melville. Yeah, he wrote a very
Yeah.
authoritative book on Melville. Anyway, she lived in Chico for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Before.
Peg, on a sad note.
That painting was not finished. I hope you know that.
Oh, I was confused. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
I just started on it again because it wasn't very well received.
Yeah.
I'm not trying for people's attention, but It just wasn't loved as much as it should have been loved.
Well,
Where's the painting? Where's the
Huh?
painting?
he
Oh,
showed us.
here. It's a big one. I brought it over. I've tried bringing the video over.
Peg,
But-
on a sad note, how is Kathy doing now that her,
Oh, yeah, I talked to her yesterday.
for those of you who don't, her husband Howard died.
Kathy Bamberger?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But didn't we just see him last time in the background?
Yeah, I think so. He just, the last 4 months, he's had for like, oh my God, like 10 years, some sort of a blood disease.
Oh,
And then he was able to handle it. But then about 4 months ago, he started getting really not doing well. And oh my God, he had pain and surgeries and it was a
Oh.
nightmare. And then he just, he was a couple days ago, he died.
How
And-
is Kathy doing with it?
She said it didn't seem real. I mean, they were married, what, 47 years. I was actually in her wedding. Were you gay?
Mm-mm.
But anyway, very sad.
Yeah. Very sad.
Yeah,
but does Kathy have support?
she has a
Friends?
son and grandson.
Yeah, she
And-
does. In fact, when I called her, she said that one of her friends, I never thought to do this, of course, just showed up with a suitcase and said, I'm staying, for a week or whatever, as long as you want. So she's got somebody there.
Oh, good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, Don Juan Carlos Castaneda said we need to live as if death is always over our left shoulder, because it is. So it's a good reminder to do what we want to do and
Right.
clean underwear and tell people you love them, that you love them.
Clean underwear. Well, and if you're in pain, that would be
Yeah.
hard to live with a lot of pain, so
Um,
hopefully better place.
I promised that I would give results of the survey. So is that's okay if we do that? So I'll just take a minute. So it's there. I only have like 6 men and 6 women. So this was the questionnaire that I asked people to fill out, because I was really curious about generational differences and male female differences. So the number is really small, so this doesn't mean a whole lot. But the men were more likely to live out of state than the women. Most people's parents were not divorced, but 3 people had dads who died when they were young, 2 women and 1 man. And most people, their moms didn't work when they were in elementary school. Some of the moms worked later after elementary school, but mostly the moms didn't work. And everybody felt safe in their neighborhoods, like Joel hitchhiking. It was a different time in terms of no one worried about your child being abducted or whatever, right? We just roamed the neighborhoods. And people said that we rode our bikes. Joni and I would ride our bikes really, really far away down Benedict Canyon. No one worried about us. We left after school and came home for dinner. I think that's a good way to live. And then in terms of depression, anxiety, most people didn't know anybody. Those words weren't used a lot for young people. Actually, I interviewed a long time ago a famous child psychologist, and he said they used to think there was no such thing as child depression or anxiety. It wasn't a concept in psychology. So things have really changed. And a couple men said they knew boys who were depressed and anxious, including one guy said himself. It was kind of split evenly. Did you go to church or synagogue regularly? Yes or no. Most people have had long marriages. Only a few people were divorced. and what makes a marriage work. The men said, learn your partner's style and appreciate it, give space, openly express love, appreciation, work to please the other. Women said, give respect, help each other, be patient, every day hug, say I love you, don't go to bed mad. Kids are hard on a marriage. Be kind, be curious, have your own interests. People were likely to have, they didn't have more than 3 children. And most people who are married had children, but a few didn't. A few people had stepchildren. People who had grandchildren, most are involved in helping care for the kids. Most people had a college education. I think a difference in work history is men were more likely to have a big variety of work types of work. People were mostly Democrats. And some people identified with being the silent generation. They worked hard, had their nose to the ground. But others kind of, like I identify more with boomers and being more liberal. Men were more likely to have really major health issues, strokes, heart attack, diabetes, alcohol issues. So that was kind of the major gender difference, is men were more likely to have major health issues. And people said what they did to stay healthy was exercise, good food, be positive. Nobody had COVID, which is interesting because over half the Americans have had it.
I have.
Who has?
Me.
Oh, you did. How
did.
was it?
It's nothing, just a sniffle.
Because you were vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have had it and not know, right?
Yeah, right.
How did you know to get tested?
Because everybody in my family got it. So
Yeah, and everybody knows you can get free tests from the post office. You go online and they'll send you 8 free tests. Let's see, what people were proud of is mostly their relationships, which is interesting. Not that they made a lot of money or had achievements or whatever, but that they, they're loving their family, their friends. That was the biggest pride source. And in terms of advice to young people, women said, be kind, really nurture your family and friend connections, be open-minded, learn, enjoy the present because life goes by really fast, explore, take care of your body because it's the only one you have. And men said similar, explore, push your boundaries a little bit, be kind and generous to people, learn, exercise, take care of your body, think critically. One man said, develop your intuition. And another said, avoid social media. Know that a lot of what's on there isn't true. And this is a big pet peeve of mine. If you're going to have a major emotional discussion, don't text. I know so many young people who break up relationships with a text. And I think or try to solve an issue with a text. That is so misguided. At least talk to them on the phone, but better face to face, because 80% of our communication is body language. And then someone had this quote, dismiss that which insults your soul. Or as the Bible said, don't cast pearls before swine. He didn't say that, I did. So those were what popped out. Any reactions, comments about those surveys? Just 6 and 6, so not very many people.
I'll take your survey when I get some time. I meant to send you answers to those questions. They're good questions.
Okay. Okay, I think you did.
Did I?
I'll check.
Okay.
Can you make Joel big on the screen now? I want to go.
You want to be
No,
big on. the
you're
screen.
not big anymore.
Oh,
You're-
good.
Big on me, on my, she's big on my screen.
Oh, she is?
You're so
Yeah, I
cute.
am on mine.
But it's a
Okay, oh, all
pleasure.
right,
It's a
thank you.
pleasure.
Oh, Peggy, push gallery, go to upper right and just put gallery view. And then everyone is equal.
Oh, that's what I want,
And yeah, and
but I don't see it, but I'll
But-
take your word for it. I'll find it.
Do you see yourself little, Peg, now?
Oh, here we go.
No,
You see yourself big?
I see myself little.
I
Okay,
remember,
right, you're good.
I remember Peggy has always been little.
I grew a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, darn.
I thought it would be interesting, and Danny mentioned this before, to talk about how gender has changed. And I know that when we were kids, I think we thought boys had cooties, and one of our activities was to throw dirt clogs at the boys. So I think my brother and his friends played separately, and I think the girls were in packs. We would hike and do pretend things. I don't think we interacted very much.
Yeah, not like today.
No, like I know my grandson is 11, and in his circle of friends, half of them are girls. And by the way, the girls now think they're lesbians at 11 because they don't, I guess, oh, and one of them said she's a demi girl. I mean, there's all this new kind of flexibility and non-binary and questioning your gender or sexual orientation that it seems to me 11's too young
Mhm.
to
I agree.
thinking about your sexual preference or your sexual identity or your gender identity. Any thoughts about that?
well, I just was, I know it's very confusing to me personally. Hey, wait, now I'm big. I think,
If you're talking, you're gonna be big. Just know
Oh,
it's
okay.
easier to see.
oh, okay. Because I prefer to be small and equal, like the,
You
but,
will be soon.
but it's just confusing. Like I said last time, instead of saying he, this guy said they, but
Oh,
they meaning just one individual. And so, however, I do believe in inclusiveness instead of exclusiveness, and, to be humane and kind and including anyone who's quote different, non-binary or what was, and I'm telling you the truth, in Berkeley, with so many kids now that are like what Gail was just describing, who are questioning at a really young age if they're trans or bi or, and it, yeah, I mean, it didn't exist when I was going through puberty and growing up, but it was very black and white and no gray. But also besides that issue of that it's no longer, it's no longer just, male and female. The other part of gender that I thought was kind of shocking and appalling, and then we kind of talked a little bit about how our consciousness has changed. And then Joel got a PhD in the history of consciousness, so he knows more about our consciousnesses than I do. But when I was working in the 60s and even in the 70s, what if, say, Gay and I did the identical job, identical work? I get $1 and she gets 50 cents. And nobody thought that was wrong. You know what I mean? That our consciousness just accepted this completely sexist inequality. And no one, I mean, no one said it. And today, it's still like 85 cents to the dollar. And if you're a woman of color, a minority, it's only like 75 cents to the dollar of what, so even 2022, we haven't reached total parity, So anyway, that's just, because
Yeah.
when I think back, it's shocking. And then I'll be quiet. But in my mother, she could be a secretary, a teacher, or a nurse, or a librarian. But the teacher of little kids, not a university. I mean, well, anyway, things have now, more than half of law school and medical school are women. So anyway.
No, and now it's people are saying it's an issue because around the world, except sub-Saharan Africa, women are the majority of undergrads. And in the US, undergrads 40% male, 60% female. So people are starting to get worried about why men aren't going to university and being in the pipeline for grad school and whatever.
Anyway, I was just blabbing, but now I made myself smaller and equal by using that. No, I did go to gallery.
So what about other people's experiences with gender when you were growing up? Did you have any friends of the other, at that time, the other gender? Or was it like pretty exclusive and then you'd have crushes on people in secondary school? But for a lot of the mamsells, I think the crushes were kind of from a distance. Any thoughts on that?
I had one or two friends who were gay.
At Hollywood High?
At Hollywood High, and well, I had a friend, John and I both had this person as a friend named Jerry Goodley, who actually went to Fairfax High, I think. He lived in the Miracle Mile area of Los Angeles, and he came out fairly early in his adolescence, and had a girlfriend for a while. But then when he was dropping her off in the evening, he would go out on the street, go out on the boulevard and cruise for male partners. So it was a complicated life, I think, for gay people in those days.
Well, I think maybe it was the first video chat we had like that. There was one of our classmates who lives in Oregon who was in a lot of pain, it seems still, because he couldn't feel like he could come out. He said he only came out a few years ago and has cancer. So yeah, it wasn't easy not to be in the binary norm at that point.
Well, Gail, I wondered one. I don't know how, I often wondered if a lot of boys felt the way I did about a lot of things, but you wouldn't say. I mean, I had a lot of trouble about sports. I mean, and I found out ways to get out of it pretty early. But I remember people would act like they really cared if their team won. I never felt those feelings. I only didn't want the ball to come to me. And there was another thing too about boys were supposed to have anger go into their bodies. I noticed people, it's not going to hit me. I mean, I just never felt those feelings. I mean, anger would go into my tongue, but I mean, I just, boys could be terrifying. No, but I often wondered if a lot of people felt the way I did, but you weren't really supposed to say it.
Danny's saying yes, Joel's saying
yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
No, I felt that way, and rightfully so. People, would bully, beat up other boys if they looked, if they appeared weak or different or smaller, or like Damon Lawrence. I love Damon because in the class picture, I wasn't the shortest. I was the second shortest after Damon. but I know what John's talking about. And I never went to one football game at Cal. I never went, I hate sporting events where the crowd goes nuts. And look at soccer and hockey. It turns violent all the time. I think there's something about sports that can bring out a really primitive, I don't know, testosterone, crazy, macho, toxic machismo. Really, it's like collective insanity. Soccer matches, I was in Israel. Well, anyway, soccer matches go nuts, and two countries, I can never remember what they were. They actually went to war over, they were called the soccer wars over a soccer game that didn't turn out. No, really. And so I felt the way John did, although I never ever expressed it, because that would have been feminine and weak. And think about that, talking about sexism. Macho guys would use a woman's anatomy to call another guy, well, you know what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
Trump
I
does
hear.
it too.
Yes, well, look at him. I mean, look at,
PUSSY, yeah.
yes, yeah, I don't like, that's not a word yeah, but you're right, Gail. So I mean, how crazy is that? And anyway, I'm with
Man,
John.
I remember one of the first times I ever saw you, though. You were very athletic. You were able on a bar. Remember the bar
Busted, Danny.
that was over near the I was in Frankfurt, Brazil. I was home, Jefferson, and you were able to do this. I never saw anybody do that.
I could do gymnastics, and then, well, see, it was this, I always secretly felt the way John just described, but luckily I was very athletic, and I loved doing gymnastics and, and playing all the sports. But I did know, I mean, I always had the feeling that there was something wrong about
Wrong with
machismo, and that there was something, I don't know, strange or frightening too, like, and yeah. So I had those feelings, really, John. Oh yeah.
like the enemies were my teammates. And they were never the really good athletes. They were usually on a kind of a string in the middle. I think they were trying to seem like and they'd come and reprimand me. You missed you should have gone over there. You should have done that.
No.
I remember a ball would be coming and bouncing in front of my feet, and I kind of, am I supposed to touch that? I think about part of my learning disability. I never could understand the rules of sports. Of course, one thing is that we moved a lot, between the ages of my being 7 and the time I came to Emerson. I changed schools a lot of different parts of the country, and things changed. The culture of childhood. Like you find yourself, somebody comes say to you, "You didn't say Ollie oxen free, free, free." I'm sorry.
Well, if Gay will promise not to put this on the internet, I'll tell you, but she won't. But anyway, no, but my father, did anyone see that movie, The Great Santini, where Robert Duvall was this Marine? Yeah. So my father was like that. I mean, he would later in life, when I got married, you shouldn't tell Maxine about money. I don't tell Mom about money. You shouldn't be doing diapers, washing dishes. He would, you shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. But then when I was younger, how can I say it? He was sort of a Tyrannosaurus Rex to me, but I I liked athletics anyway. So, and I was good at gymnastics.
Well, he pushed you to be a jock?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And then, of course, I never, here, if you promise not to tell the world, you know how how you measure how tall kids are, you know, well, so I never measured up figuratively or literally. And then I had I on my driver's license when I was in my 20s or 30s, I put 5'9.5". I was never 5'9.5". And now, you know, everyone shrinks as they get older. So yeah, but I remember gender, well, the male gender role being very, I don't know how to say it, just a challenge and unpleasant and hard and difficult psychologically and emotionally. And
I don't think it's changed. I think it's still like that in a lot of ways.
yeah, yes. Oh, and even worse than sometimes, because my grandson was in the Little League, and it was unbelievable. And then I'll stop. But in Berkeley, the Little League, it was called fun competitive, and you'd pitch until the little kid hit it, boys and girls. You know, and then the opposite. In all, the fathers got in fist fights. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not kidding. And you're right, it hasn't changed. In some ways, gotten worse, I think.
What do you mean it's gotten worse?
Well, I mean, the homophobia, anti-violence against trans people, and
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It just even though people are, they're out of the closet, you know, not like when I was young. However, there's still a backlash against anyone who's different.
Yeah. Peg, you have a bunch of grandkids. What do you see in terms of their attitudes towards being boys or girls, and that kind of pressure on boys or girls to look a certain way? Is there pressure, I think?
One thing I just noticed with the kids nowadays, different from, and this is not exactly the answer to your question, but it seems like the kids are so much more loving to each other. They all hug and kiss and
Yeah.
I love you. And I don't think any of us in our club ever did that, right? Do you ever remember saying?
We didn't say I love you.
I mean,
sure.
No, no. I mean, we might say it now, but I just don't remember. I don't remember that we were ever that way. It seems like kids are much better nowadays. You know, they're so much more accepting. I mean, my grandkids.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember when they went to this school, I said, "Oh my God, look at that." This was about 8 years ago. Went to this school, and one of the gals had like bright red, purple hair, and I went, and it was short and all spiky, and it was a private school. And I said, "Oh my God, look at that!" And it's Grandma, quiet. And the kids are more accepting.
Yes.
But you know, now I am. I don't know. Some big changeover happened to me, and now I think it's great. All of it. I become very accepting of all kinds of people because I think it's out there, and I think we're a better world for it, dealing with all of that. But my kids I don't know, they kind of taught me the way, I would say, how to be.
How beautiful.
I think the culture has changed, though. I mean, Danny said it, we've all said it, that when we were in high school and grammar school, there were gay people, but they weren't out of the closet. So you didn't
Never even thought of it.
No, and just like saying I love you and being affectionate, I think it's just kind of a cultural change that is a shift, I guess.
Like men hugging, because they didn't.
Like men
used to be a
hugging,
hug.
you wouldn't see that. Yeah, it's and you're right. I think it's all for the good.
Jenny, what do
And
you
Danny
think?
and I think most women probably lie about their weight on their driver's license.
Oh, oh, yes, yeah.
You know?
That's
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
Jenny, you have oodles of grandchildren.
We have six, 3
And
in
what-
Chico and 3 in the Bay Area.
What do you notice in terms of how their deal with each other and the other genders and whatever?
Well, I wish I saw the kids who are down in the Bay Area more often because they're the young ones now. But and my youngest grandchild here is Sam, who is turned 16 this summer. But last year was or the year before, I guess, the first year in high school, because it's 4-year high school. He brought 2 girls because we live very close to the high school here. Yeah. And so he came home for lunch. He came to our house for lunch and he brought 2 girls with him and they were laughing and talking. And later I said, I was kind of feeling him out and I said, well, any interest there, Sam? And he said, oh, Nana, he says, they're both gay, which kind of surprised me too, that's accepting now just because they see it or the kids acknowledge it. I still think that kids like a sophomore, like a 14-year-old really doesn't know they're kind of experimenting. So I think sometimes when they say they're gay or whatever they say, it's kind of something to be cool. But at 18, if they're a girl, they find guys and all of a sudden the spark, comes into play. And so I just think there's a change in everything. I mean, we talk about when 200 years ago, when there was slavery but that's kind of the way it was then. It wasn't good. But we look at it, but now to look and say those people were evil, I think that's wrong too, because times have changed and opinions change. And when you're more used to something, you're more accepting of it and around it more.
So
We
true.
didn't, really, we didn't have any blacks in our high school. I mean, think of that. We didn't.
And it was pretty segregated in terms of Latinx people, and I don't think we had any Asian. Oh, yes, we did. We had Japanese.
Asians
Yeah.
There were Asians.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's when I found out about internment camps was from, everyone born in April 43, and then all the Japanese American high school and junior high, they all were born there, all in camps.
Do you remember when we made national news because 2 boys, one Japanese and one Caucasian, were running for student body president, and somebody hung somebody in effigy on Pearl Harbor Day on December 7th.
Right.
And yeah, that was shocking. I remember my parents just being.
That was while we were there? Was it while we were
Yes.
there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember it too. Yeah, no, I remember I was friendly with a lot of kids because I wasn't real tall and I was on the B football or C track, and so were a lot of the Nisei. And they called each other Buddha heads. And I remember when we played Hollywood High and some other high schools, they were very racist and were saying bombs over Tokyo and, all sorts of anti-Japanese slang and epithets. But yeah, but you know what I remember? Once I did go to a reunion. I can't remember which one, but a reunion, then all the Japanese American kids, well, now not kids, but they all sat at the same table. And it did remind me And even at the university, everyone's self-segregated on ethnicity, race, age, all the demographic categories. People really and in my classroom, after the second or third day of the semester, everyone kind of segregated, like they're for international students. I mean, it's still, I don't know. I'm getting carried away.
Is it still like that, do you think?
I'm sorry, what?
Is it still like that? Or are you saying it was like that?
And well, I retired about 8 years ago, and it was still like that. Yeah.
It was my husband's class reunion this last weekend, and he graduated from Chico High School. And Gary didn't go, he doesn't go to reunions, but we had his friend came, and he came over yesterday afternoon and told Gary all about the reunion. And he said, yeah, the elite girls all sat at the table up in front, and they didn't socialize with us, and we were the car crowd in the back, and the jocks were over there. But I think, you kind of cling to the people who have the same interests, and those were your friends. And so it's kind of natural that at a reunion, you would want to see what they're doing. So I think it's kind of a natural thing to cling to.
Do you remember? I know Gail remembers, because we were in Frank Fukuzawa's homeroom.
I don't remember that.
Gail, you don't remember Frank Fukuzawa?
No, I don't.
I do.
Not a bit. Not a drop of remembrance.
You don't remember the Japanese teacher? He was our homeroom teacher for 3 years. He was the print teacher.
And that's terrible, but I don't.
Well, he was interned during the Second World War when he was still a student. He was in one of those internment camps. And then he went into the army, and he was in that Japanese American unit that went to Italy. He always felt, and I'm knowing this because there was an article in the newspaper that Dave Rich sent me decades later, that he never got to graduate with his class, the high school graduation in Santa Barbara. And when he was in his 80s, he decided he was going to do it. And he went to the graduation, and he just wanted to walk the line and do it all that. I'm sure he had gotten, well, he would have had to have had degrees to teach. But Frank Fukuzawa, yeah.
To me, another gender difference is that my son would have girls spend the night here that weren't in any way girlfriends or sexual, and it was no big deal. But in our generation, you would not have a boy spend the night at your house.
Mm-mm.
Because it would just be assumed that you couldn't be platonic.
Yeah.
And my grandson, as I said, his friends are boys or girls, doesn't matter. I asked him, well, what are your pronouns? And he goes, dragon. I said, what's your sexual orientation? Because everybody has theirs at 11. He goes, asexual. And I said, well, wait till your hormones kick in.
But speaking of confusion, because it's true, I agree with whoever said it's too young. It's way too young. However, every gay friend and every speaker I ever brought to the class, I would bring lots of speakers on various topics. But anyway, a long time ago, to be gay and out was considered deviant, and well, anyway, every single gay speaker I had, male or female, said the same thing. I knew I was gay at like 4 or 5 years old, in other words, very young. They just knew they were different when it came to whom they were comfortable with or attracted to.
Mm.
So it is, I don't know. I'm just, like I said, it's confusing, this whole, cultural shift with gender, that it's, and plus I'm, well, OCD and ADD, And so I like things black and white. I don't like, you know,
Some of my friends afterwards, we got out of school. I remember a friend of mine, Joel, you knew her, Stephanie Lipney, you knew her.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
said, I'm really a homosexual man living in a woman's body. And I said, wait a minute. I guess I'm a lesbian woman living in a man's body. And I was talking to another woman about it, a very good friend of mine. I've always had a lot of women friends. And we had decided, or she said first, you and I are really androgynous. Well, I guess that's the way I really am. I never wanted to be, I didn't really want to make any changes about, I'm just the way I am like that, you know? And I was the same way. I think about, you know, the thing with sports or about fighting. I didn't want to change. I didn't want to do anything. I do know I had a very good friend that kind of wanted to be a real boy. So he was always trying to choose off other people. Of course, the other person always wound up sitting on him after just like 3 seconds. But I never wanted to make those kinds of
Hey,
changes.
but wait, I just had, this is terrible but I remember Joel a long time ago.
Uh-oh.
No, I know. And anyway, it was really embarrassing but Joel, you even said to me one time, I don't know what we were talking about, but it was a long time ago. Maybe it was something to do with Israel. I don't know. But then Joel said, yeah, it would be an interesting experience to be shot at and shoot back at someone. I don't know if you remember that.
Wow. Did I
Do you
say that?
remember saying that, Joel?
I don't remember, but
I was
Was it-
impressed. I was very impressed when you said it.
was it when we were in college or when we were in high
I
school?
think maybe a little, yeah, young, very young college, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
don't
I can't
Remember the
imagine.
woods? Do you remember the woods that were always around Westwood Village? I mean, there was the Sonia Henny skating rink, but there were all those woods. And I remember I asked Joel once, you remember, did you play in those woods? And you said, Dan Hayton and I fought the entire Korean War in
Yeah,
those woods.
yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. UCLA, the campus was wild in those days.
Right.
You know, thick brush and unplowed ground, and it was just quite amazing. And we had this whole fantasy of fighting the Korean War and coming into a band of super intelligent chimps. We trained and fighting with us, and I just remember that very vividly.
Hey,
So
we were,
would you just talk about this scenario, or would you act it out with guns and stuff?
We didn't have guns, but we did act out in some way, and I
Well,
can't
you don't
remember.
need gun, you just go.
yeah.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
pretend. But we were ahead of our time, Joel, because of Planet of the Apes. It didn't exist then. We had chimps, but yeah, that was. But then think about it. I had a Hopalong Cassidy outfit and
I did too.
a cap gun. You know, yeah, it was. You know, how would you say? But anticipatory role socialization into being a tough, you know, or back then a typical guy.
Yeah.
But see, I was friends with people like John Leith who felt, you know, exactly that way, that they didn't want to get involved with stuff like that. They were the smart ones.
I don't know. I think it had to do with where you were with stuff. I mean, I sort of knew when I was 10, I wasn't going to be a soldier. I mean, a lot of it, you know, they really started preparing you for those kinds of things. You know, when you're out there, you better learn to this, because when you're in the army, you're going to have to be. I kind of knew pretty early that I wasn't going to be a soldier.
So did anyone have friends of the other gender, to use the old language, that you played with?
Yes.
Judy Utkoff, because
Judy
we
was
lived
one.
in a duplex apartment, or a house cut in
On
half.
Kelton.
Yeah, on Kelton. Good memory.
You lived in that same building with her, didn't you?
Yeah, so she
Yeah.
lived in one half and we lived in the other half. So I played with Judy Utkoff and Karen Goodman
Yeah.
and, well, and Gay Kimball.
All we did was dance.
Okay, well. Well,
It'll
no,
be
it was platonic.
We had a roving gang of kids in our neighborhood, and one was Sam Hathorn. You guys remember Sam Hathorn.
Oh, sure, of course.
So we when we were younger, we were all around the neighborhood jumping in puddles and stuff.
I had a
It's
playmate.
amazing the way you guys go back.
Halloween, running around together until 10 at night. It's fun.
Oh, Jenny, that's an interesting gender. Halloween, the choice of costumes that little girls and little boys.
Oh, yeah.
One time, Peggy, do you remember our Halloween together when we put the sheets over our head and we went as ghosts? And we saw
Burt Lancaster.
Fort Lancaster. Yes, we
We
went
went to his house, I remember.
and his daughter answered the door and she looked at us because Peggy and I were ducked down really short because we were in high school then. And then Bert himself comes bounding down the staircase and says, "Oh, hello." I mean, he was like Elmer Gantry. He was so wonderful. He said, "What do we have here? 2 ghosts?" And we were.
He said something like, "Aren't you a little old to be trick or treating?"
Oh, no.
He had our number, yeah. That was fun. Halloween
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, those were fun times.
I had a playmate named Vicky Weisbart. She was our back fence neighbor. And we used to, behind our house, there was this kind of uncultivated woodsy area that led down a hill to the back fence of their house. And her father was David Weisbart, who I think did the film editing for a big movie in 1948 and won an Oscar for it. And then he later became a producer or director himself. He was the person behind the movie Rebel Without a Cause. I think he either produced or directed that. And in any case, but his daughter Vicky was a playmate of mine in those years.
Did that continue into secondary school, or was Playmates mixed gender just in elementary school?
I kind of got away from it in junior high school. I mean, I got very conventionally into, I don't know, just conforming in every possible way in junior high school. I don't know. I always felt illegitimate in some way.
As a man?
Just as a person, I don't know. I mean, part of it, we all, I think, had this experience of being mid-year graduates. So we would graduate from one school on a Friday and be in a new school on a Monday. And I remember going from Fairburn to Emerson and how traumatic it was to suddenly, being at the top of our class at Fairburn and then suddenly getting kicked around as what they called a scrub by bullies at Emerson on a Monday.
Yeah, that was.
I found that too. I remember for the first time we took a bus to school, to Emerson Junior High School. And it was a Thursday and one of the older girls stood up in the bus and said, "Who here is wearing pink and green?" And maybe I've told this story before. I looked down at my skirt and I had pink in it and green in it. And I said, "Oh, I have pink and green," trying to fit in.
That
and
was
they
being
said,
sad.
"Oh, you're a fairy, you're wearing pink and green, and it's Thursday."
Oh,
Yeah.
And that destroyed you for a while.
It destroyed me. I never liked Emerson. I was always afraid to go. My stomach ached every morning going to Emerson.
Did you go to Revere, Julianne? Did you go to Revere?
I went to Revere then.
Yeah.
The first charter member of Revere Junior High School.
Right. So you spent B7 at Emerson and then.
A B7, yeah,
Yeah.
only one semester at Emerson, and then they opened up Revere.
I remember that I learned all these Revere people because when I came to Emerson, it was brand new. I mean, I came from other districts. So I didn't know who was who. So I wound up knowing who these people are. And then they left. And then,
Yeah, half the school vanished, huh?
yeah.
Peggy, do you have your puppy to show us?
Yeah, yes, he's.
We want to see how he's grown.
He's driving me crazy.
That's what puppies do.
He's very cute.
Oh,
Oh,
It's
Very
his
cute.
dinner time, and he probably has to go out because about every hour he has to go out. So,
but he doesn't go in the house?
well, that's why I have to take him out. He has, yeah, a lot. So,
How many
anyway,
months?
I'm probably going to go because I do need to do that, and we're going out for Mexican food tonight. Margaritas.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Peg, someone said you don't like to cook. How do you get by without cooking?
By eating out.
Every
bringing-
dinner? No.
Or I don't think I've cooked. Yeah, I mean, I'm not proud of it. I wish I did know how, but I'm not. I'm terrible cook. I really am bad. And so where I'm living, there's a clubhouse, and they literally they'll bring it to your door. So I've gotten kind of spoiled.
Oh, that's nice.
I know I wish I was a good cook, but I'm not. And my kids know it now too. I don't know how we survived when they were little, but probably McDonald's and frozen foods. I don't know what I did.
but Peggy, have a good time, a nice holiday at that dude ranch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's going to be a real trip. Well, I'll tell you all about it at the next one.
Okay, good. Thanks,
Okay.
Peg.
How do I say goodbye? Where do I just say goodbye?
Do you just click the little X? Gail, I've got to go too. We always eat at 5:00. And so I've got to go in there and.
Oh, I see. Leave. It says leave. Okay, I'm leaving.
Where does it say
Bye.
leave?
Have a good
Bye.
I'm going
have a good
to.
week.
Gail, thank you so much too. I have you watched the videos too, Peggy?
Yeah,
It's so much fun to see
I
these
know.
people we haven't seen in so long.
It's wonderful.
I've really enjoyed watching the videos too.
Gail, you're the best. It's really
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's nothing. Joni and Dave Kuhn have done all the work. I just pop out of
Hi, Joni.
And you come up with the
Bye.
questions.
Okay.
Bye-bye,
then.
everybody. Thank you.
We'll say
Bye.
goodbye.
And Gail, I'll see you on Friday.
Friday. We'll walk.
Okay.
with Ella.
Lucky.
Bye, Peggy.
So long.
Bye.
Oh, so we'll say goodbye to everyone then, and we'll see you in September.
When in September, do you think?
Do you got any preferences?
Not yet, but I might. I will see. I'll think about it.
Yeah, just let me know.
I can't do it Thursday. I know I can't do it if it's going to be Thursdays because
That's often a
Noted.
difficult thing.
I teach a night class in the fall on Thursday nights.
Okay. All right, my dears, we'll
Okay.
see you in September.